I was today years old when I learned this. Between 2020 and 2023, tech and professional services saw significant pay increases, with some estimates in the high teens to low 20% range, yet they still weren't the fastest raises in the economy. So who beat tech? Why would a bud tender in Denver see a bigger raise than a Fortune 500 analyst? And how does a line item in a law you've never read quietly decide your next raise at a company you haven't even joined yet? The myth goes like this: income growth follows talent. Learn the hot skill, get the hot salary. Tech leads because code scales, consulting follows because PowerPoint sells, and everything else plays catch-up. It feels tidy. I used to buy it, and maybe you did too. Strong margins, high productivity, rising pay, sounds settled. Except the timing never lined up. Some low-status jobs kept jumping pay faster than the polished ones, and that's where everything gets weird. I actually called a friend who hires for a utility-scale solar contractor and asked point blank, "Why are you offering 15% sign-on bonuses to electricians when general construction is flat?" The silence on the other end told me everything. Now hold on, because this next piece doesn't fit at all. Colorado, 2014. Recreational cannabis goes legal. Dispensaries open, green crosses pop up, the usual headlines. Here's the part nobody outside the state tracked closely. According to Leafly's 2021 jobs report, legal cannabis employment grew rapidly, and pay in those roles increased faster than many traditional sectors. Setup: you've got retail clerks, trimmers, cultivators, not exactly FANG engineers. Conflict: yet wages in that ecosystem outpace traditional sectors. Why? If it's just more demand, why didn't coffee shops double wages when caffeine demand went up? Twist: it wasn't just demand, it was the rule book. Licensing caps, compliance audits, banking workarounds, seed-to-sale tracking, tax code 280E. You suddenly have a brand new industry where the bottleneck isn't the product, it's permission. Limited licenses meant the first wave of operators, names you've seen on storefronts like Native Roots, or nationally, Curaleaf and Green Thumb, scrambled to open stores faster than the local labor market could upskill. Result: bidding wars for a very specific mix of retail, security, and compliance profiles. Pay rose to poach from restaurants and logistics. That's not random. Now solar. From the 2010s to now, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data indicates that photovoltaic installer median pay increased notably over the past decade. Not crypto, not AI, rooftops and racking systems. Setup: developers like NextEra and Sunrun ink projects against state renewable portfolio standards and federal tax credits. You'd see local wages spike in a county before a single panel hit a rail. Why would an installer's rate jump in March when the project starts in August? Twist: deadlines, not just demand. Don't miss this detail. Policy windows slam shut on specific dates. A tax credit step down here, a state procurement round there, and everyone sprints at the whistle. Utilities file interconnection queues, cities slow walk permits, developers crash their schedules. That creates short, intense hiring bursts. Companies overpay to lock crews for a 90-day window that unlocks subsidies. The story isn't green jobs pay more, it's calendar events create wage spikes. But that's just the surface level. Let's go deeper. There's one detail I haven't told you yet, and it changes everything. Hold that thought. Now, tech did have a monster run. Remote work, stimulus-fueled demand, soaring margins. We saw significant wage growth from 2020 to 2023, per BLS-based summaries cited by industry trackers. And to be fair, the simple explanation isn't wrong. Scarce skills and big profits push salaries up. It's just not the whole story, because the fastest growth isn't where the absolute salaries start the highest. It's where the scoreboard itself gets rewritten mid-game. Think about your last pay bump. Was it tied to your code quality? Or did a client expand scope on a contract and suddenly the rate got approved? You've probably noticed this without naming it. Every time rules change, a new accounting standard, a privacy regulation, a tax credit, pay moves faster. And then it cools when the rules settle. You'd think that's coincidence. Nope. Example: a Midwestern manufacturer wins a state clean energy grant to electrify its fleet. Project managers and general ops get 2% raises. The handful who can parse the grant compliance manual get 12% and a retention bonus. Conflict: same building, same org chart, different trajectory. Twist: the money isn't coming from sales, it's coming from playing by a new rule and getting reimbursed for it. So the people who can interpret and execute that rule get the first bite. And this is the part that tends to divide people. Some say don't chase hype, build fundamentals. True, but watch what actually pays the premium. The premium shows up where friction is greatest, where a permit gate, a tax form, or a compliance audit can kill the economics unless someone who knows the playbook is on the field. Yeah, stay with me, this gets weirder. The cannabis example shows a license scarcity premium. The solar example shows a deadline premium. There's a third lever that quietly magnifies both. After 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act reshaped energy incentives. Public language says clean energy gets credits. Boring. Inside the fine print, a switch flips. Meet prevailing wage and apprenticeship conditions, and a base 6% tax credit can rise to 30%. Companies don't post YouTube-friendly explainers, they adjust payroll. They pay higher wage rates on qualified projects, schedule apprentices, and in return, unlock a far larger credit. If you can certify that stack, you're suddenly the most valuable person in the trailer. Wait, okay, so why does this matter if you never plan to touch a solar panel? Because this mechanism repeats. Healthcare when billing codes change, finance when a capital rule tightens, logistics when a customs regime updates. A parent in Texas reported their hospital quietly bumped nurse differentials during a billing software overhaul tied to new coding requirements, not because patients suddenly needed more care that week, but because the reimbursement math changed and the hospital needed that upgrade live by quarter end. That's not a scandal. That's incentives doing what incentives do. I used to roll my eyes at follow the policy, felt like red tape. Then I watched who got raises first, and I had to just close everything and sit with that for a minute. The fast money doesn't always chase innovation. Industries experiencing rapid technological or regulatory changes tend to offer faster income growth than those with more stable conditions, even if their starting salaries are not the highest. That's the punchline. The sting, it's not always the best work that pays first, it's the work standing closest to the lever that unlocks the funding. Here's the takeaway. If you want faster income growth, don't only ask what's hot, ask what's changing. Look for license caps that create scarcity, calendars that force sprints, and clauses that turn 6% into 30%, if and only if someone can prove the crew earned prevailing wage. This pattern has been running so long that entire professions have been built around it. So your turn. In your world, what's the next rule change with a deadline attached, a compliance update, a billing code, a subsidy window, and whose paycheck will move first when it hits? Next time you see a job posting with compliance required and a suspiciously high sign-on bonus, notice the date in the fine print. That timestamp isn't decoration,